Hi everyone, it's Abby from Craft Industry Alliance. I hope you are having a great morning or afternoon. And if you are in the sort of Texas area, I hope you are staying safe and warm. And today we are here doing a member spotlight, which is what we always do on Wednesday. And we're going to be talking with Jen from Jen will be joining us in just a minute. And I have been sitting here back in my house. Hi, Jen.
Hey, welcome
Um,
back to your house. That's got
I
to feel
know.
good to be home.
Yes, we were. Well, it might sound a little echoey. I don't know if it does, but
Mm-mm.
we have almost no furniture. So we our movers are coming back tomorrow to move everything back. So anyway, we are happy to be home though. There's nothing
Yeah,
better than sleeping in your own bed. So
yeah.
we're back. Yes. So how are you doing?
Good. A standard morning for what it feels like. We're homeschooling right now. We're only back to school one half day a week,
Oh my gosh.
which is almost more work than it's worth, if that makes sense, for that
Yes.
4 hours. But we're dealing with it, same as everybody else.
Yeah, yes, it has been such a crazy year, but it is great to connect with you. I can
Likewise.
see you in your studio with your quilts
Yeah.
behind you. So tell us a little bit about Faith in Fabric. I followed you for many years, but for people who maybe are just dropping in and don't know anything about it, tell us a little bit about your business, what inspired it, and kind of how you got started.
For sure. So I kind of came to it accidentally. I didn't. It wasn't a purposeful like I think it is for some people. I worked professionally. I was a IT project manager for years. I supported HR software. I did software implementations globally, and I loved what I did. And then I became an old mom. Most of my friends had kids in their 20s, early 30s. I was towards the tail end of that. And when we finally had our son, that was such a gift for me that I couldn't imagine going back to work. So I went back for about a year. My first day back, actually, they asked us to relocate to Singapore, which instantly showed we were just disconnected. I'm this new lactating mom that dropped her baby off at daycare and is crying the whole drive to work, and they're asking me to move to Singapore. So that didn't work at all. So I stayed for about 11 months, and then I decided to stay home. And I love it. I don't regret that decision at all. The sewing piece came into it though more just as a hobby. I needed something to do, and I like to kind of geek out because I like that old programming side. So I started just learning how to use EQ8, I think it's called, an electronic quilt, and it was a fun way just to kind of design a few quilts. I like to sew, and so that was a natural flow to do that. But then I started making decor for our house that was faith based, for Advent, and all my friends loved it. They're like, "Oh my gosh, can you make me one?" And I don't think they realize how long it takes to make one quilted table runner. It's like 2 weeks. So I found it was much easier to make patterns and sell the patterns than it was to sell the actual quilts. And so it was kind of more by default I fell into it.
Got it. Yes. An electric quilt, if people aren't familiar with it, is a great program that helps you to design quilt patterns online. And they're also a Craft Industry Alliance member. So we really love them. So that's great. So, okay. So you kind of fell into it, and your patterns really are faith-based. So they really are almost like an expression of your religious faith, and sort of a
Mm-hmm.
way for people to kind of do both of those things. So talk a little bit about sort of the kinds of patterns that you create, and the different themes that you have, and sort of talk about that kind of body of work.
Absolutely. So we're Catholic, obviously under the Christian umbrella, and I think that's where the focus of what I do is. I have kind of three different groupings of work that I do. So I make Christian-based patterns. A lot of them are like quilt blocks. Like you can see, there's a little church up there. We just
Yep.
finished that one, and it's they're all based on scripture. So just an inspirational item from scripture, regardless of where it may be. And there's how many books in scripture, and it applies across the Christian basis, which I think is wonderful. I get emails all the time from Protestants, from Methodists, and so we're all grouped together, and I love that. I love that aspect of it. It's not just one group. So we've got the patterns. I also do something now called Free Motion Friday, where we're working together to do a free motion pattern every Friday, again, inspired by something from scripture. And that's just been a blast to see everyone sharing their designs. Free motion quilting is something that I think can be very scary for people. But, we're just breaking it down into very basic steps I'm learning along with them. So I always show, here's how good it looks. And then we flip it over and look at the back and here's all my mistakes. And so it's kind of fun to share both sides of that. And then my third branch is really more on the pattern or on the fabric side. So about, I guess it was 2.5 years ago, we just needed a break. So we're very fortunate. We live near the beach. We were able to rent our house out at a pretty good rate. And we just traveled the US for the year and had such an amazing time. We got a camper and just went to go see everything. Now, you cannot fit a sewing machine in a camper. At least you could into ours. So I got into more on the fabric design side. And then that started our little Sew-A-Saint dolls. And these are all little Saint dolls that are just, very perfect beginner-friendly projects. And so the focus of my business now really starts off, here's some very beginner-friendly projects for kids. Here's the intermediate, some very basic blocks, all the way up to, hey, here's a beautiful quilt you can make if you are really more of an experienced sewist looking for a challenge.
That's super cool. So the Sew-A-Saint dolls, those are designs, and are they printed on spoon flower or?
Yep.
Okay, that's really cool, right? And they are something that you basically could sew kind of an outline almost around and then stuff, right? It's a pretty simple.
It's very basic. Yeah,
okay.
I'm teaching a class coming up at it's an online homeschool coming up, and it's a perfect thing for that because you get the panel, you get some stuffing for it, and whether you're doing it by hand or you're doing it on a machine, you're still going to be done in about 45 minutes. It's not a heavy duty, intimidating first project.
Yeah, I could totally see that being great for like a Sunday school or for a group, a camp group, or like a scouting group or something like that.
Yes. I get lots of orders from they're called Little Flowers. It's kind of like the Christian version of Girl Scouts, but actually even I've gotten Girl Scout requests, and so we do bulk orders, no problem. We'll ship those out too.
That's really cool. That's a really neat addition to your business, and I think it's really interesting too to think about different ways you can diversify what you're doing. I mean, this was something that was sort of imposed upon you because you didn't have access to a certain tool that you needed, and so you had to sort of think creatively, but it ended up being a new income stream for you and something interesting that you could add. And it is still like patterns, something that it's not super intensive. People are ordering it from Spoonflower directly, correct? So they're not it's not really something that you have.
They order it actually through me.
Oh, they
through my website.
So you're ordering the fabric in bulk and then cutting it and then sending it out. Okay.
Yeah, I send it out as a kit actually. So they'll purchase the kit from me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So super cool. Yeah, but it became a whole new, sort of sector of your business. That's really interesting. It did. Super cool. Yeah, and something that kids can do, which is a little bit, of a new market. So that's really neat. Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
And then you have a blog as well. Is that right?
I do. I use my blog almost more just to support, I guess, the business side, if you will. I love doing quilt-alongs with other folks. And so it's always enjoyable just to kind of be able to share what you're doing. It's a great way to connect with people and to almost feel a little bit less businessy, so it's not just like pushing products. Plus, I think when you join in a quilt along, I always learn something from, reading other people's patterns or just connecting with other folks or seeing how they put colors together. So I enjoy that aspect of it. The blog works well for me too, because I have a book that was published through, it's almost like a completely different branch through our Sunday Visitor on how to live your faith in your home. So it almost has nothing to do with the sewing side, but it's really more the faith side. I find in my business, I'm almost sitting on a fence all the time where like half of my business is on the faith side and half of it is in the quilting side. And I'm kind of at that crux in the middle. And so the book itself is obviously definitely more on the faith-based side, but it's just been such an enjoyable way to host a book club every other month as we prepare for whatever the new liturgical season is.
Yeah.
The new faith season is.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I wonder, are there other people who are doing kind of similar? Have you connected with other people who are doing sort of similar things to what you're doing, whether it's in Christianity or in Catholicism, or whether it's in other religions? I just wonder if other people are kind of doing this, are using craft or sewing or quilting in particular to sort of explore this part of religious practice. I'm just wondering if you found other people doing this. That's
a great question. So in terms of quilting, there's a few other people who do it. I don't know that they would necessarily say it's their identity though, like I do. A few years ago, the best advice somebody gave me in trying to break into the quilting world was find what you do that makes you different.
Yes,
And I
that's great.
just kind of, they said there's enough people making white space geometric patterns, and that's not a dig on anyone who makes those. I don't mean it that way, but there's a lot of that out there, and so I needed to look at, instead of me coming in and just doing that again, what makes me different. So I just kind of wholly embraced this, if you will. I saw a need out there. I mean, there was need. Like I said, I was getting requests. Can you make me this? I want this. And that has worked really well for me. So while there are some other people that do it, I don't know that they necessarily do it to the extent. Now, it's brought up some potentially a really good new avenue I'm trying to look into is my site gets a lot of traffic. People Google Christian quilts and I automatically pop up. So I've got requests from other people to say, hey, would you consider selling I have, maybe one Christian pattern or two. Would you consider selling them in your shop on wholesale? So we're just now starting to explore what would it take to expand into that realm, to start carrying other patterns. What would that look like? That's a whole different set of practices I need to really dive into before we're ready to do that. Conversely, though, I run with about 4 other women, a Catholic crafting group, if you will.
Okay.
And it spans, we've got, I think just close to like 900 members right now globally.
Oh, wow.
And it's all women. It's a women's only group. And it's all women who do any kind of craft that relates to the Catholic faith. And that's so much fun because you have people globally just seeing all the different ways that Catholicism is expressed, in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, and not just here in the States, in Latin America, through all kinds of different crafts. There's jewelry makers, there's painters, there's woodworkers.
That
and so
is
just to
super cool.
see the beauty is just amazing. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm glad I asked that question. That's super interesting. Yeah, who knew? I didn't know.
Zelly & Co. It's called Zelly & Co. for St. Zelly. So we manage that group. But that's it's obviously, I know you manage a couple Facebook groups. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding to do that.
Yeah, no, that is super interesting and very cool. Yeah, and it's so neat to see how religion inspires all kinds of creative output. So that's fabulous. And I know, like right now, I'm making a challah cover. That's English paper piece. It's going to take me forever because actually it's buried and I don't even know where that project is now I'm thinking about it. But I am making it, and it is my handwork project that I'm working on right now. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I love those things, and we have several pieces of embroidery and things like that have been passed down that are for religious holidays and things like that from my in-laws and grandmother and great-grandmother and things like that. And those are the things that you hang on to. So pull out for holidays and. So they're really special.
Yeah, and that's kind of the whole goal, is to share, at least with the quilt patterns, to make these family heirlooms. Oh my gosh, I remember my mom had that out every Christmas. She would pull this out, and now you pass that down. I tell we have just one son, Adam, and we always say someday this will be yours, and you can obviously do whatever you're going to do with it, but hopefully think that those things will continue forward.
That's wonderful. And so through your patterns, people can totally do that. That's fabulous. So Jen, where can people go to find out more, take a look, and see the kits and the patterns and also read the blog?
For sure, thanks. So I'm online. All my little moniker across everything is always just Faith and Fabric. My website is faithandfabricdesign.com, and you can find pretty much everything from there. There's a link in my profile that'll take you to all the quick links you need for newsletters, everything you need from there.
Oh, it's great talking to you. And
you too. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad we had a chance to talk today.
Absolutely.
And yeah, thank you everybody who dropped by. It was great, great having a chance to connect. So see you later, and thanks for being a member of Craft Industry Alliance.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Bye.